Hi, this is Wendy again. Want to take a couple minutes to go through Lesson 3 with you. Now, while Real Learn talks about Lesson 3 being about types of business ownership, and that's actually what your assignment ties to, it's more about all of the very, very broad legal issues, and in just a few of them, you've got to consider when you're going into business for yourself. So, as always, make sure you read through Real Learn thoroughly. Pay some attention to the flashcards, the key terms. I think you're going to find the definitions of interest and all the other information that's provided. Additionally, make sure you read chapter 16 in the text. Yes, we're jumping ahead to yet another chapter. We did chapter 1 across 2 lessons. Now we're jumping toward the end of the text, going to talk about chapter 16. And chapter 16 covers so many types of information that you need to make sure you're aware of. So let's touch on them briefly by taking a look at our PowerPoints. Let's get rid of me a little bit. So we've got some space in here. It's there. All right. So, first thing we've got to keep in mind, different types of business ownership is actually the name of Lesson 3. However, the chapter in our textbook is titled Legal Issues in Business, which is really all of this is about. There are so many things to consider. It would take probably an entire course to cover all of these thoroughly, so we're going to touch on these very, very lightly. First to consider is what kind of structure do you want? And if you're not sure what this means, go back to the key terms in Real Learn. But there's things to think about. Liability. If something goes wrong in business, are you at risk of losing your house? What if you operate a small business as a sole proprietorship? Do you pay income taxes on it twice? One for the business, one for you individually? And then what type of ownership, what kind of legal form do you want? Now, our learning talks about several different types here. Sole proprietorships are very, very common. Partnerships are common. And those are really good ways to get started, depending on what you're doing and what your expertise is. Now, when you're dealing with partners, there's a lot to be considered. What do they bring to the table? What do you bring into the table? And then you need to really document it. That's where these agreements come into place. Our text has a great example of an agreement. Then, how do you protect the things that make you different and make you special as a businessman? You need to protect what they call intellectual property or IP, whether it's a secret recipe that you've got for your grandmother's chili, or whether it's a great design for some new gadget or a gizmo tied to the IT industry. Whatever it is, you need to use the right information and the right legal documents to protect yourself so no one comes along, copies what you've got, so you've lost your opportunities. More information on IP agreements. There's other types of agreements, including non-disclosures, non-compete, and then you've got to be concerned with those trade secrets that I mentioned. Different kinds of contracts are available, and you've got to make sure the real principle behind a contract. What are they for? What are they planned for? What do you need to make sure you cover? There's also the things you've got to go through just because you're running a business in this country, in this city, in this county, in this state. All kinds of things to be considered with, including taxes, sales tax, income tax, employee taxes, all of those come into play. In the text, you're also going to see a case study on Facebook. And this is interesting because you may be familiar with it. There was a movie made about it, but I think you're going to find it somewhat interesting. Lastly, our assignment. You're going to talk about the different types of business ownership in the assignment. And remember, this is an essay. You need an introduction, you need the body, you need the conclusion, you need the information, and there's 5 questions you need to answer. This is not a question-answer assignment. These would be fully fledged paragraphs. And if you have any questions, if I can help you at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to assist. Have a great week. I look forward to your submissions. And as always, ask if you've got questions.